Welcome to Unhypnotized. I'm excited to announce our first sponsor, QuickBit, the crypto boutique. QuickBit is a Bitcoin first company that specializes in hardware wallets, seed storage, education, and all Bitcoin needs. They've got tons of experience, provide fast shipping and excellent customer service, and they're authorized resellers of Blockstream, Jade, Trezor, Stampseed, and more. QuickBit is owned by my good friend Dale. He actually orange pilled me, and he is a wonderful person to do business with. I highly recommend checking out QuickBit. These are real Bitcoiners running a real business. Welcome to the latest episode of Unhypnotized. I'm your host, True Heather, also known as Hypno Heather, and we have locked down an elusive guest today and have got her at a time when she has a little break from being a new mom of 5 months. And I'm so excited to have this conversation and share this conversation with you all. So without further ado, here is our lovely guest, Bekka, also known as Bitcoin Bekka. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So great to have you. I'm so glad we can have this conversation together, recording it. Ever since I met you, like when did we meet? I guess about a year and a bit ago.
Yeah, at the Bitcoin rodeo last year.
Yeah. And I mean, from the moment I met you, I just felt so energetically connected,
Yeah.
We'd probably hang out more if you were busy being a mom.
I would hang out with a lot of people more if that wasn't the case. But, this is my life now.
Yeah. So maybe just for our listeners, like maybe just let them know, how long you've been a mom and kind of like just anything that you can share. Give us an update, right? For your fans too. Like give us a little update.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So after being pregnant for like 58 years, I finally gave birth to my little prince, Luca. He's amazing. And it's been pretty much complete chaos ever since. If I get, 30 seconds where I can sit down and check Twitter, I do. And I pop into my group chats and I say good morning and then I ghost again until like the next day. So it's just life of a new mom. It's learning new things every day. Every day is something new, challenging, but in a good way. And it's just what it is right now.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was so relatable to probably so many of us women that, have been pregnant, given birth when you were just like, baby's still inside, baby's still in there.
Yeah. Especially towards the end, it was just like how every woman or mom can relate to towards the end. You're just like, oh my goodness, like, can this just end already? But at the beginning, you're like, oh, I'm pregnant. This is so great. Like, oh, my belly, my baby's inside. It's so magical. And then like towards the end, you're like, get this thing out of me. Just
totally.
come out already. Yeah,
totally. You're just like bloated. You're like giant. You're just like, how am I even built to carry like a full-born infant in my body?
I know. It's so crazy. Just just couldn't even walk. It's just a waddling around. It's like, oh, I can't wait to have my body back. I can't wait to breathe like again. And my heart rate's all like going crazy. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely a magical time. I probably ate way too many pancakes, but that's okay. And now I have an angel, most of the time. Sometimes he's a little bit of a terrorist, but it's okay. They're allowed to. Yeah. So, and he's teething. He's starting to teeth now. So it's just like, it's like you don't want them to be in pain, but it's like you have to go through it. Like we all had to go through it. So, which is
true. It's so true. Like you just have to watch your baby, even as they get older. You just have to watch them be in pain. Like you have to be okay with them being in pain.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I think like he already has so much energy and he's so just like punches and kicks. And I'm just like, like when you're older, like I'm already thinking about the first time he's going to break something like an arm or a leg. Like it's going to happen. I'm just like, I'm not ready for it. Like I'm going to cry like such a baby.
Oh my gosh. If I could do, like, my son's 14 now and he actually just broke his arm this summer.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't break, like, nothing really before that. But, if I went back and did it again, I would have been like less bothered by him being bothered.
Yes. Yeah. Because
Like,
you have to let them just, especially with boys, right? Like you just kind of have to let them be. And he's already like so independent too. Like it's just, we started feeding him. It's like I'm giving him like purees and stuff, and he'll just take the spoon and he's like, I'm doing it by myself. I'm like, don't shove it all the way in your mouth. Like he gags himself and he starts coughing. I'm like, but I guess you need to learn like how far back you can put the spoon in your mouth. So
right? I mean, I guess it's like a super spotlight on just like how we all, make mistakes, like, or just have to learn by doing.
Yes.
It's
yeah.
like a
Big time.
super spotlight on like them just having to recklessly do things.
Yeah. They have to go through their own proof of work. So just like he's right. Like, so he's learning to crawl. And that's another thing. Like he'll be on his like stomach, he'll lift himself up and he'll want to crawl, but he gets so frustrated that he's like not moving, but he'll like move a little bit. He'll move backwards. He'll spin around. Like we see it, but he can't. And so he's just like cries and cries. It's like, well, it's just, you got to go through it. You got to put the work in so you can learn how to crawl properly.
Oh, I love that. One of the things I used to do so much as like a visualization in hypnosis was like, because people like, they get so like, they're so hard on themselves when things are difficult to learn, and like when they're in the proof of work stage of like, whether it is setting up a business or getting healthier or whatever it is. And I always use this imagery of like a baby learning to walk. And I'm like, imagine if every time the baby like struggled or like fell, you were like, oh, you stupid baby, what's wrong with you?
Just, it's so easy. We all do it. Like, what's wrong with you?
I can walk already.
Yeah.
Right. And then, when they're in this sort of like relaxed state of hypnosis, like it just hits them like, oh, right. Like it's so dumb to be like hard on yourself when you're falling, when you're taking risks and falling and like, you're putting yourself out there, you're doing the proof of work and you suck. Cause that's like, that would be literally like, imagine if you were like yelling at your baby, you're like, oh my God, you're so bad at walking.
Luca, you suck at crawling. Like, come on. Like, I've shown you so many times. Like, just learn it. Yeah.
Like, so we're going to appreciate that.
So are you saying I should hypnotize Luca so he can learn how to crawl?
I mean, I would say for sure not, because my thing was always like, when I helped my son learn to crawl, I was like, wait, why did I help him do this? Like now he can go everywhere.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, obviously he's going to learn how to crawl and it's going to happen and I want to help him. But in a way, I'm like, oh, then everything in the apartment is just going to be, I don't know. I need to put like a big like buffer around everything or get him a playpen, but that's going to be difficult because the apartment is so small. My little pod.
Yeah, you need like just like a bouncy, like a bouncy or like, or like, that was always my thing where I was like, wait, now I like was like, okay, crawl, or like, sometimes this is probably like a fiat thing too, where they're like, oh, by this age, your baby should be doing this, or by this age, your baby should weigh this much, or whatever.
These are the milestones.
Yeah. And then you're sort of like, that's not kind of in your head if someone told you it, or you saw it, or for me it was. And then I was like, I just had this moment where I was like, like, one, I do not need to force my baby to learn to crawl because he's gonna.
Yes, exactly. It's going to happen.
And then after I helped him, I was like, wait, why did I help him? Because now I got to follow him around everywhere.
No, yeah. Oh, don't touch that. Don't do that. No. Yeah. And that's like another thing with like the no, like saying no, like that's this new age parenting. Like, oh, don't say that. Like, you got to say it in a supportive way. It's like, well, I don't know. What am I supposed to say? Oh, if you touch this, like, you're not going to feel so great. Like, the outlet. And so it's like, no, don't do that. But
yeah. Yeah, or like they're crossing the
goes.
street, right? They're crossing the street and you're like, you might not want to do that. There's a car coming and they're already halfway across the street by the time you like
no,
it in the way.
Yeah. But you already made the mistake because you said the word don't, because it all needs to be positive, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, this is really funny because that's like hypnotic language. Right?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Because like it's like the mind doesn't hear the negative. So if you say like, don't drop that instead of like, be careful. Right? Or like I had a lot of people come to me and they would say like, say they had a gambling problem and they would say, okay, I wake up in the morning and I tell myself, I'm not going to gamble. I'm not going to gamble. And then I go through the day and every time I feel like gambling, I tell myself, I'm not going to gamble. And then I'm like, well, basically you just like hypnotize yourself into like gambling all day.
Yeah. So, it's like, I'm not going to do it.
How many times did you say gamble?
Yes, exactly.
No, because for me, it's more about that than it is like the negative. And I'm not really like a fan of like facts. Like I'm not really a fan of like never say never or don't ever say don't or don't ever say no, because that's just like putting like more programming in of like what's bad or good.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then if you're like doing that type of parenting, then they're going to become 18 and go out into the world and then realize like no is said a lot, or there's a lot of like negative out there, right? Instead of like, oh, but my mom always said like, how does this make you feel and your feelings and this and that? And when you're out in the real world, like your feelings don't really matter. Or at least like when we grew up, like who knows how the world is going to be in a decade or so with all these people and their young people and their feelings.
Yeah, because exactly, like it's one thing to like, I always think about my son and just like how he'll just come home and he was potentially in an embarrassing situation or something happened and he's just like, no, I would just say good. I would just did my thing through it or whatever. And I'm like, right. Like, and I kind of always think back to that of how like, like he's still at this age, will tell me anything. And I just think it's like one thing to just like, give them space to talk or like share their feelings, or like, I think actually that's also a fiat problem too. Like I've been talking to lots of Bitcoiners about dating because I think they need a little help.
Yeah, just a little.
And I really want to talk about it more, but just like to make my point is like, a lot of them feel like in like fiat dating or even with their family and friends, like they just get so much negative feedback for being authentic and saying how they feel. And like, I found that too, where it's like the more that I'm like in just like my authentic self, which I find is like a lot of Bitcoiners, just like, let's be ourselves and say what we think and what we see is happening in the world and not, put on these masks and pretend like shit's not fucked up.
Yeah.
But then like as a result, people have like very negative reactions to like people just saying things that they think. And then that kind of causes this like, this disconnect, I guess, in like coming back to my son. With my son, he just knows he can come home and just share how he feels, but it's not like that puts him in a bubble. It's like it makes him stronger against like just people of differing opinions. Because I think maybe what, I'm just thinking about this connection right now to what you're saying of like, when they go out in the real world, and it kind of made me think about all these people that are like, they get so reactive by someone just saying what they think.
Yeah, true. Good point. Yeah. And it's been turbocharged, like in the past decade, like with social media and everything. And then really like super turbocharged with 2020 and all of that And, and with like the states, like with Trump and everything, like everyone's just like so on edge. But it is, yeah, I mean, it is good that people are just saying what they feel, and I guess making other people uncomfortable, because maybe out of 10 people, 20 people, maybe one person might think, oh, why am I reacting like this? This is, maybe it's a friend, family member. They're still the same person, but just because they think this way or have this opinion doesn't mean that everything about them now is all of a sudden negative. So if there's like one person that will self-reflect, then, then you're kind of winning in a way.
Yeah.
Or helping awaken other people. Right?
That's very optimistic. I like that. Yeah. I like that you are, been a Bitcoiner as long as you have, and you're still optimistic.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to be. And ever since I've had Luca, like, you have to be optimistic that, things are, gonna be good, or, that the future looks bright, like that, there's going to be positive in the world, and not everything is just super negative, with all the drama that's going on, the wars and whatever, Russia, in the Middle East. Like, yeah, sure, there's things happening on, the world stage and in a grand, like, in the grand scheme of things. But, in our everyday lives, like, it really doesn't affect us that much. It's just all that, fear, propaganda, that when you're on social media, reading the news, if anyone still reads the newspaper, or, mainstream media, it's just fear, right? Because that's, especially with social media, like, that's where the algorithms, like, you get the engagement, right? So it's just going to show you more of that stuff. It's not going to show you, oh, here's this lovely family and they're in the park having a picnic, just like enjoying each other's company, reading Bible verses or whatever, like, it's not going to show you that. That's not going to get kind of engagement. But, oh, what's happening in the Middle East, or, that's going to get clicks. So
it's so true. I mean, it's just like the sensationalism of it all. And I'm an optimist too, because I actually think things have to fall apart before that they're rebuilt. And I think that all these systems that aren't for the health and well-being and abundance of everyone needs to crash down. Mm-hmm. And, and solutions rise from the ashes, so to speak. Like, it's all happening at the same time. Things that aren't working are falling apart. Things that are working, or things that are bringing light, are growing too. Mm-hmm. And, I think about that as the family too. I know sometimes I've seen like your memes about, being a Bitcoin mom versus a fiat mom. And I think actually that's true too. Like the traditional family, in a sense, had to fall apart to be rebuilt now, but only because there was a lot of people in it that like weren't happy, or they weren't choosing that dynamic sort of for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. Like, it just was like how things were done, and you just get married and stay married, even if you're being abused or you're unhappy, or like it's really bad for you because of maybe security, or just what you were told is like not shameful, like, or feeling guilty to leave something. And I think that, then it got wild, wild west out here in terms of families and structures and everything. But now in the new era, now we can build families and have families that are aligned and that are like a new model. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, what's like the real family look like the healthy family look like moving forward.
Yeah, healthy families. When you were just talking, like how, like in the past, or like now, like, relationships aren't as, like, as soon as it feels like with some couples, like if there's one little hiccup or something, or, they don't want to put the work in to go through it or something like that. It's just all of a sudden like, oh, I'm annoyed with my partner, or whatever the situation may be. And then they just throw it away. Right. And then it's, oh, well, find someone else. There's going to be someone else better, or, someone different, instead of just kind of putting the work in to go through whatever problems you have. Yeah, given there are definitely, some situations where, you can't fix it with abuse or anything like that. Or, some people do have really bad addictions that they don't want to face or deal with, or, and that you as the other partner, like, you can, tell them until you're blue in the face, like, you got a problem. But if they're not willing to recognize that change, and, then what are you going to do? But, there's also other couples, one little thing and it's like, oh, whatever, like, see you later, I'm out of here. But in terms of healthy families, like, yeah, it's just like I said, you got to put the work in, understand that, there are going to be struggles. It's not going to be easy, but building a family is like the ultimate proof of work that you can do as a mother, a father, building a strong family unit with a good foundation, with good principles. And I think with Bitcoin, because it's rules without rulers, like, there's the principles, the foundations, like, solid, it's there, no one can change it. And within, like, our Bitcoin community, people see that and they relate that idea, those principles, to other areas of their lives, family being one of them, right? Like, when I first got into Bitcoin, like, I didn't realize there were so many, families, dads, out there on Bitcoin Twitter. It's like, what are married and have kids? Like, what?
It's true.
Okay,
What year did you get into Bitcoin?
Okay, so I got into Bitcoin, first started getting curious and interested in 2017. So, like, one whole cycle or 1.5 cycles ago. And then learned about it, shitcoins, like, I've said this story many times, like, here in Calgary, it was like a heyday. There was scammers everywhere. Like, I'm sure you might know, like, there was one Bitcoin meetup here. It was like always at Cowboys, like at the casino, like, there was a restaurant there and they had the meetup and the guy was like a total scammer. Holy crap. Like,
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And you talk to anyone from Calgary that's been in the Bitcoin space, they know this guy. Like, he is notorious. Yeah. So, like, we went through all that and it was like, okay, like, I'm not sure about this Bitcoin crypto thing. And then when 2020 hit, like, it was, oh, they're printing all this money, like, and you start research, you hear more about Bitcoin and this and that. So, like, through that rabbit hole, I really fell down the rabbit hole. And then I would say, like, Bitcoin Twitter was like 2021. Like, I was more active. Like, I was kind of following people a lot, like Max Kaiser, because he had that Kaiser report with Stacy. So they always had guests on. So I would follow all those people on Twitter. And then just, when 2020 hit, like, there were just so many, like, anti-government memes. I was like, this is so my thing. Like, because I've always been kind of anti-establishment. Like, I'm not too sure, like, where it stems from, but a little bit. Like, I grew up on a dairy farm. So, like, we were always, like, quite independent in our own little, like, self-sufficient family, right? So, like, not heavily influenced. Like, my parents didn't go out to go work somewhere or have an employer. Like, they were self-employed. We were all at home. Like, we had that strong family foundation. And so I think that anti-establishment thing probably stems from there. But once I started seeing all the memes, I was like, oh, like, this is where the action is. Like, it's not on Facebook. Like, oh, that's laying over there. Like, all the fun stuff is here on Twitter. And then slowly, it was just more like liking memes and, like, kind of replying, saving the good ones, and then like replying them in other places. And then just in 2021, like, I really jumped right into it, especially like after Michael Saylor, like, joined the space. I was like, oh, hello. Let's be retarded. And reply stupid things to this guy.
Yes.
So That's how that happened.
Oh, I love it. That's, I think that fun is
So,
such a part of this, Oh yeah, we got a little. Oh, actually, while we had that moment,
yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna do this for a little bit. Yeah, your background's so good. Just sometimes they want it like this for like an edit, but yeah, okay. So that's so fun.
Okay, wait. So going back to healthy families. So on Bitcoin Twitter, you find that there are a lot of family men out there, and it's really cool to see like how this digital like money can bring all these people together that have the same values, or similar foundation, a foundation of similar values. Not that every single Bitcoin believes in the exact same thing. That's a very that is not true.
But that's actually
there's a foundation of similarities there. Which is cool, and also reassuring in a way that there's other people out there, other families out there that kind of believe the same things, have the same values, and not that everyone's just like so fiat orientated and sheep essentially.
This is a really good point, because that's it exactly. That's why the Bitcoin community is so awesome, because no matter what it is, like even when it's business, families, art, whatever it is, food, there's an underlying foundation of not being, how could we say it? It's like the foundation is like, we're all on the same page about something, and that just feeds into like all the other areas of our lives.
Yes. It's like the nervous system, right? Like there's the brain, and then there's all the nerves that go all throughout the body, right? So you have like, I guess you could say like Bitcoin is like the brain, and the proof of work, the self-responsibility, that low time preference, those sort of ideas and principles then filters, or not filters, but it spreads through like the whole, your entire body, right? To every limb, organ, and whatnot. And that is the same from my experience in Bitcoin, right? Like you said, food, education, even like clothing, right? Like, oh, do you want this like fiat polyester plastic clothing, or do you want to try, use organic fat fibers and whatnot, cotton, linen, all this stuff, because it's healthier for you. And Bitcoin is healthier for you than fiat. So, right? Like
it's organic. Organic. Bitcoin. Organic Bitcoin. It's true. It's like without all the bullshit. Like, do you want all these chemicals in your food, or do you want something that the farmer through a regenerative farm grew for your nourishment?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I'm dying to ask you, or for you to get into your 2 columns, because this is so fun. So please share with us, the points and like the differences that you made between Bitcoin families and fiat families.
Okay, so we'll start with fiat families, I guess. Okay. So I have a few points. So fiat families don't or can't stay at home with your children, want to have a career and instead of being a homemaker, because being a homemaker is kind of frowned upon. It isn't reaching your full potential, that kind of propaganda out there. Oh, you need to have a career too, and go work for the man, and this.
Climb the ladder of success.
Yes, exactly. Like, I can do it. I'm a success too. I'm not going to be a slave of being at home, making dinner and doing laundry. Like, that's so 1950s. Like, we're better than that. We're progressive. So all that propaganda around that. which then leads into like sending your kids to daycare. And then like you go off to work and then you send your kid to daycare and then you just have someone else raising your children, you know, instilling maybe their values and principles on your children. And then this kind of just like putting the responsibility onto someone else and not yourself, like, or you and the family. Other points I have, so fiat dollars and the money printer have ruined the nuclear family. Like pretty much since 1971, you've seen a big split in terms of, you know, divorce, the welfare state, just the state taking over more and more of what used to be the family's responsibility and mostly the man's responsibility, right? Because with the money printer, we've just stolen the wealth from the future and spent it now. And now we're in the future and we're all paying the price for it.
Yeah.
Because you can't save. You know, why would I save $10,000 when in even 3 years it's going to buy me way less than now? Like I'm going to spend that money now and try and get something. Just like it's happened in the past. Weimar Germany, same thing, right? Like you get your pay at the end of the day and you immediately go to the grocery store because you know tomorrow the bread's going to cost 10,000 marks more because it's just being debased so quickly. And, you know, that's
the
fiat.
fiat.
That's a fiat family. Like, and the thing is, it's like, it's not their fault. Like, it's just the system, the environment that we're in. And that's just, you know, if you're not, a lot of people are just stuck in their, you know, they've got the blinders on, you know, it's like, this is just the way it is. And
and there's just got to deal with it. Like there's countless ways to numb and not see it. Like I saw the other day, there's 12 football games on a Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah,
like we're talking fiat.
yeah, exactly. But it's like give them breads and circus and they'll be distracted and you could kind of do whatever you want, right?
Know,
like that's how the
men, like, yeah, like the men are like they're kept busy. It's that they don't really like even have that time to go like, maybe I need to like lead something here or stand up for something here, like do something to create the future I want for my children.
Yeah. But there's also like so much propaganda against men to even attempt to do that. It's like, no, now it's the woman's time. It's people of color's time. It's not your time. You had your time. It's like, but I'm a 25-year-old man. What do you mean I had my time? Like I wasn't alive 200 years ago. Like I'm alive now. Why am I not allowed to, or why doesn't society support me having my time now? Right? Like there's so like that, there really is a lot of propaganda against young men for that. And it's a real shame, you know, and also how we mentioned kind of earlier with the food, like all the chemicals in the food, all the chemicals in the clothing, and it all seeps into our system too, right? And it blocks, you know, low T men. Like that's a thing now. Like that wasn't a thing really 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Could you imagine, like, I don't know, Napoleon with like a bunch of low T men like trying to fight off against the central bankers, because that's what that was.
Well, and even and even now, I mean, I'm I think maybe a generation older than you, maybe. I'm 47.
Okay, yeah, maybe we'll say 10 years.
Like we'll say. But I'm just saying, like in my generation, you know, a lot of the marriages fell apart because like of that propaganda, like where like the women, we believe like we've got to be we've got one it all and we've got to do it all, and then the men having less and less like support in leading and like even raised less to lead. And then, you know, but the women just not really realizing that we like stopped being attracted to the men because they weren't leading, and they just started to feel like another child to us. And I remember even, you know, where like it became really obvious, like as soon as the woman feels like you're another child that she is taking care of And then on top of like, you know, the overwhelm that she just took on thinking she has to do it all and have it all, it just becomes like, you know, it deteriorates the marriage because,
Yes.
and we didn't even really know why.
Yeah.
We just knew that like we wanted a man to take care of things that wasn't doing it, but yet we were taking care of the things.
Yes. It's that instinct, right? It's like you can't go against hundreds of thousands of years of biology. Like you just can't in a few decades be like, I don't even know, man. Like I'll take care of myself. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be the breadwinner. Like I can do it all. It's like, well, actually, sure, you can try, but all those things that you just listed, like you become not attracted to a man anymore. Like you're just, like, why do I even need you? Like I can do it all on my own. But then sure, you get into that you're in that world or in that lane, and then I'm sure at some point down the road you're going to be like, oh wait, like was that worth it? Like am I happy? Like you know,
well, and then it's like say for me even now, like I always joke like I'm not an independent woman because I want to be.
Yeah.
I just don't, I can't really find the men.
Yeah, where are the men? It's so Thomas and I, we were out for a walk yesterday, and there was like some guy, you know, on a scooter. Like these men on scooters, like it's just so I cringe every single time. I'm just like, no, this is so, you don't look manly whatsoever, you know, like on the scooter, scooting around. It's like that movie Wall-E. Do you know the film? Like how everyone
seen it for a while.
Yeah, it's so good. Like every human is just so obese, and they're on this little like scooter chair, and it's just like this is the beginning of that. Like, get off the damn scooters, men! Like, just walk. Who cares if it takes a little? Yeah, exactly. God, or yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I got so many examples. Like when we go for walks, like, or the guys with like the little dogs. It's like, oh, why? Oh no, just stop.
It's really interesting just how massive the hypnosis has really been in terms of like convincing people about what they want or like how they should be, like really against their innate wisdom and like their innate desire.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it's the propaganda, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so I wonder then, would the Bitcoin family be the unhypnotized family?
I think it's the starting of the unhypnotized family. Yes. You know, because with Bitcoin, like I was saying earlier, you know, it has that foundation, that proof of work, self-responsibility, and low time preference. And if you put that to family, you know, raising a family that, you know, is supportive of one another and is there for each other, listens, loves each other, like that's the ultimate, you know, that's the proof of work. And then when you raise, like my little guy's like 5 months old. Like I have no idea how this is all going to work out, but you know, I'm hopeful that I'm going to raise a really good guy. So, you know, and then in the future when they're adults, like you would have hoped that you instilled enough of your values and principles that they then go on and do that with their families. And, you know, that's why I say like having a family is like the ultimate proof of work that you can do. And then self-responsibility, also like you're responsible for your family. The state's not responsible for your family. Like, no, like the state has its own interest, is their number one interest, not you and your family's interest is not their main priority, regardless of how much propaganda or how much they want to hypnotize you that, oh yeah, we care about the middle class. We're, you know, building for future generations. That's all just catchphrases out there, you know, so that they can grab you and hypnotize you. And, oh yeah, the state's going to do everything for me. Like, No, you're responsible and take responsibility. And that's, that value, that principle is, that's Bitcoin. You got to be responsible for your own keys, like, no keys, no coins, like,
True.
that.
True.
So
That responsibility piece is very important. It's the same with health, right? It's like the medical industrial complex is still trying to convince people that it's not your fault, it's your genetics, or like this is incurable, or like it doesn't matter if you change what you eat or how you think about things, or like what you're responsible for. Like it just takes the responsibility off people for like what they put in their mouth, just like,
yeah,
takes the responsibility off people for what they do in their family.
yeah.
So maybe that's like a fiat is
Yes, completely. Like,
like
being obese is healthy. Like, right? That's the new thing. And with this Ozempic or whatever, I've watched a few podcasts on it. It's like, oh, well, just take this shot every week for the rest of your life, like
forever. And then doesn't matter what you eat, or
keep eating McDonald's, keep drinking soda. Like, it doesn't matter. You don't need to take responsibility for your health, for what you eat. This shot will, you can offload the responsibility onto this shot, right? Like
it's the same thing. Like you can offload your family to the state. You can offload your health to the system. You can offload your spirituality to like, any
social media, I guess.
Like social media. Like you can offload and it somehow appeals to people. Like it appeals to people to be able to like just feel like they can't they can't do anything, but at the same time I think it's like the great malaise. Like it's underneath, it's like people are feeling really disempowered, really hopeless. Like,
and this is the easy path. Like, this is so much easier to take this shot of Ozempic instead of going to the gym and putting the work in and actually going through something hard. It's just easier. It's easier for me, to offload my kid to daycare so I can go and work and have, focus on my career. It's easier, to go to McDonald's than it is to cook a healthy meal for myself and my family. It's just easier. And that's, that's that just offloading the responsibility. And there's so much like, it's just been programmed into us, right? And it takes a lot to undo the program. Yeah.
It's programmed, and then it's also like fiat's constantly stealing our time and energy.
Yes. Yeah. So that's like the other thing, right? Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Like, I say like, send your kid to daycare. Like, you women want to have a career, but like you have to go and work because the money is worthless. Like Thomas and I, we talk about it all the time. Like two people have to go and work. And it's not even enough that two people go and work. You can be making six figures and somehow it's still not enough.
It's not enough.
I remember it was like 2021, 2022 in BC and Vancouver. So they had this affordable housing in, building. And it was for people making $100,000. And it's like, how, like 30 years ago, like $100,000, like that was, you're like, that's like a upper middle class family person. Like that's a rich person. Now $100,000, like you're in affordable housing. Like that's, it sucks. It sucks. It's not fair that that's what's happened to our money and to our generation, the future generations. It's just like, just gotta, be poor, or what's it like? You'll own nothing and be happy. Like this, it's just gonna own everything because they're the ones that control the money printer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where I always come back to is like just having compassion for people kind of in that, because it seems like choice when sometimes there's no choice. I mean, it's always great for us to wake up and kind of go, wait, maybe I can start to make different decisions, at least to start to build something like a more sustainable way of living. But then when all is said and done, and then when the real problem is like this high increasing anxiety and depression, like I've been having consults again over the last couple of weeks, and like every person that I talk to is on not just one antidepressant or anti-anxiety, but more than one that I spoke to, you know, because like, and this is not irregular. Like I'm not.
No, this is very normal now.
Like I'm talking to like regular people that are wanting to feel better.
Yeah.
And, you know, so then that becomes something where it's like, well, rather than have you, you know, like rather than us show you that this system is like causing you to feel like this because it is impossible to get ahead, and like who knows what you can really afford in the future if it keeps going like this, just take this medication, and like it won't help you feel better, but it will stop you from feeling enough.
Yes.
That you will feel a little better.
Yeah. Take this medication. Here's the iPhone, whatever, 21. Like, just here's the newest, like, for the social media app. Here's some VR goggles. Like, just live in this other world and don't worry about the real world. The Matrix. Like, just plug into the Matrix. You'll be fine. Like, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Think about it anyways. Yeah, exactly. You guys will just enjoy yourself and be entertained.
Yes.
It's like the violin, like the band playing on the Titanic as the Titanic is going down.
Yeah. Oh, at least the music's playing. Yeah.
Oh, it's so entertaining to be drowned.
Just don't look over here like, oh, the frigid Atlantic. Yeah. The Titanic. The Titanic didn't sink itself, that's for sure.
I love that. I mean, this is why we love, like, you know, Bitcoiners, and this is like why I love talking about these things, because at least we can come from a place of like, we're not blind to like what's happening, but we can bring humor and we can bring optimism, because like there's a new way.
Yes, exactly.
Like way.
Yeah, so the future looks bright. So I've been watching a lot of like the PBD, Patrick Bet David, like his podcast, and that's like his saying is the future looks bright. And I'm like, yeah, that's like really relatable. That's how like I feel like Bitcoiners look at the future, right? Like the future is orange, it's bright. Like we'll get through it. And whether or not like we see that we get through it, like hopefully our future generations will be able to experience prosperity again. Maybe our generations just got, you know, the short end of the stick essentially, right? Like this is just what we have to go through. There were past generations, you know, they had to go through war, or if you were back in the Roman times, you know, like that was also not all great if you have to live through the downfall. Like, you know, it's always cycles, right? Like that for churning, right? Every 4 generations, it's something that comes and just kind of blows it all apart, and then you have to rebuild. So, and that's like another thing with like the low time preference, like for Bitcoin families is like you start thinking in terms of generations and not just, you know, high time preference this week, this year. And even since having Luca, like I thought I was low time preference, but it turns out I wasn't, because I was still like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's gonna hit 1 million, like maybe I'll be like 65. Okay, yeah, probably, maybe not, you know. And if it doesn't hit 1 million in my lifetime, like that's okay, because now I have, you know, there's a second generation for me. Like maybe it'll hit for him 1 million, or maybe his grandkids, you know. It's just kind of really switches, like it makes you even more low time preference. And I have a note here. That, you know, with Bitcoin, you can pass your wealth down to future generations. Like right now, only, you know, a small majority of people in the world can pass wealth down to future generations. And it has been like that for, you know, I would say since the beginning of human time, that it was always just a small sliver of humanity that was able to, you know, provide for future generations. And if you weren't part of that group, well, every generation just had to figure it out for themselves and start from zero. And, like land was always used to store wealth, for a lot of people and pass that down. And now it's Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's accessible to everyone in the world. You can get a few sats and hopefully, maybe in your lifetime or your kids' lifetime or your grandkids, like that will be worth something. At least you can store your energy into something that can't be taken away from you. Right. So,
and you don't have to be in the elite class or like have had wealth passed down for you. And I think that's really important too. Like, I think of it as like being a bushwhacker, like a trailblazer in a sense of like, yeah, we are definitely building something for the future here. And whether or not we, see the outcome of that work, we are getting the benefits of just being part of like a community doing it together. Like, it's like the actual in this together, not like the fake propaganda in this together. But if you don't act how we want, you're not in this with us.
Yeah, exactly. Do this or else we destroy your entire life.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a favor to ask you as we kind of start to wrap things up, because I really want to do a meme, but I can't quite figure it out. And I'm wondering if you can help me.
Okay, yeah, for sure. What meme?
Because like, it's about dating. It's about dating before being a Bitcoiner and dating after. So the after is like, I'm just looking for a man to like set up my node, run my own run my node and take care of my wallet.
Yeah. Like offsetting responsibility on someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
For women, it's okay.
Together, two together. But the before, I guess, like the before is like, I want roses, like, because I'm like, dating before is kind of like, I don't know, is it like, what is it, like love and roses or romance and I don't know.
Yeah, it's like romance. It's like what I see in the movies and romantic comedies, right? Like, I want the man to, bring me roses always and plan all the dates and I guess do all that whatever Hollywood propaganda stuff. Which sure, it's nice if a man does that, but I mean 99% of the time, like, are they really gonna go out there and buy you roses all the time or like plan dinner dates? Like, most of the time it's probably gonna fall on you, and that's okay. Like, I would say, like, it's fine that Thomas doesn't buy me flowers. I'll just buy them. I mean, it comes from he pays for it with his bank account, so it's like he's buying them for me, but I just go pick them up.
Yeah, because it's like because it's kind of like, right, because I'm not saying, I don't think romance is dead. It's kind of like the fiat idea of romance.
Yes, yeah. Right? It's like, it's Valentine's Day, so I have to go buy chocolates and a flower. And, that's also fiat and corporatized. Like, so this year after Christmas, so January, go to the grocery store and you'll see the Valentine's Day stuff already out on the shelf. Yeah. Like, this is how, and it's just like, okay, your Valentine's Day season, like, get your, your chemical filled chocolates for your,
like, seed oil,
300-pound girlfriend. Yeah. Drive your scooter to Safeway. Like,
that are some like dyed flowers, like spray
exactly
colored flowers and like seed oil chocolates.
Yes. Yum. So fiat.
Okay, I kind of like this. So it's like maybe like dating as a woman before Bitcoin. I better get something romantic for Valentine's Day. Or like,
okay, I have a few memes popped into my mind. So there's that one with the guy on the pathway, right? And one's all dark and the other side is like light. There's a castle with whatever fields with animals in it. So there's that one. So you could use that one. Or there's the two people on the bus, and the one guy's like looking at the wall and everything like, and the other guy's like looking out the window and it's all nice and green.
So like, what would the guy say?
the guy on the left that's looking at the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, like probably, oh, great. It's Valentine's again. And I get my seed oil filled chocolates. Like, I get my roses that cost $42 because it's Valentine's Day, right? And then
on dinner in a packed restaurant.
Yes, exactly. Like you list those things. And then on the other side, it's just like, oh, my man's running my node. Oh, he tickles my node every night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or I like the Ben Affleck one where he's out there smoking the cigarette and it's just like, oh, and you can use that like, oh, fiat dating.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, it's Valentine's Day again. I have to, go through these motions.
How romantic.
Yeah.
Like, how romantic is Valentine's Day again?
Yeah.
And like, there's probably, and just like, I like that one too. Like, the guy on the train and then licking the light. And it's like, just the excitement of like.
Yeah. Big smile. He's like, oh,
yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, because even if it's like, okay, yeah, I definitely want a guy to run my node, but
yeah,
like there's other things about like dating Bitcoiners that could be on the other side of that too, right? Like,
yeah.
I
mean, it's like, or you can have the guy on the right that's looking at, that's all happy. It's like, oh, I'm going home, to my wife, to a home cooked meal. My children are at home waiting for me, like that sort of thing. Going to church on Sunday, like whatever it is.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Or like or even just this sort of ideal, like, this like Valentine's dinner in a packed restaurant, or like,
at home with your wife or girlfriend, home cooked meal with
like having like great conversation
from the rancher. Yeah.
Like,
wow. We're gonna fuck the state. Like, take the state down.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, you can do like, there's like on the left side, the guy that's all depressed, like, Valentine's Day packed restaurant, seed oil filled foods. Oh, got it. Talk about whatever the game last night or the latest series on Netflix or Prime, right? Like all of these like peaceful like conversations, or the latest headline, whatever, like the latest headline, the latest TikTok, like, and then the guy on the right. Yeah. Just all the like basic stuff. And then on the right, like, going home to my wife, like, she spent all day making a fresh meal and the kids are waiting for me and we're gonna, play in our garden or in the backyard.
Like
we can talk about how we gonna destroy the state, by being a strong family, like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, this is good. Or like, even if it's like a date, it's like talking about how, it's like the excitement of like the future as we like, tear down the system, or like, or even like, just build together, right?
Yeah. Building together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, that meme with the guy on the barbecue is like, oh yeah, that's interesting, but did you catch the game last night? Like, like, fiat dating, like this is pretty much
totally.
Like, and you're like a Bitcoiner, like on a date, you want to talk about all this other stuff, and they're just like,
like all the things we can talk about.
Yeah.
And then sex too, right? Because it's like non-porn affected sex, because like definitely not sex sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I know firsthand. And like, it's like, like the like non-fiat sex, like sex that's not been numbed by porn.
Yeah, tainted by pornography. Yeah. Sex like how they used to do it. Just lie there, no.
It's like, it's freedom, right? It's like freedom.
Yes.
It's like so much more free.
Being comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, this is fun because I kept thinking of this meme and I'm like, there's probably so many like what before dating Bitcoin, there's after.
After dating Bitcoiners, yeah.
I mean, I still have to find one that I'm really into, but I have hopes.
Yes. Put the energy out there. It'll come.
Oh, it's like, and the energy, right? There's like that health and vitality. It's like
Yes,
the
yeah.
health and vitality that's the turn on,
Mhm.
because like that's like what we were saying at the beginning, and this might be a nice place for us to just come back to as we like close off our conversation, which is like the health and vitality that's like just interconnected in the ethos of Bitcoin.
Mhm.
Because it
Yes.
just inevitably makes you healthier because you really start to question what you believe, what you think in your head, what you eat, what you are building as like your family or your business or whatever it is. So it's like, right, that's like, it just
Yeah. You
inevitably.
come back to that, yeah, that sense of responsibility, not just for yourself, but if you build a partnership, right? Like there's a responsibility there to each other and to build something hopefully great and that's sustaining long term.
Yeah, I really like how that came out of our conversation. Yeah, they like because responsibility gets such a bad rap.
Yes, it
Like it
does.
makes
Yep.
it seem like it's bad, but when we're really like part of a team, part of a community, responsibility is like the glue that like builds trust and allows people to really like use their genius and their skills to like interconnect and like create something that is more for the abundance of all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's if you're able to, yeah, provide or be a part of something where you can contribute, like it makes you feel good inside too. And you want to do more of that, right? Like, oh, if, for example, if it's like a citadel or something and there's a bunch of people living together and it's like, oh, I'm going to tend to like the garden, right? Like that's always the Bitcoiner stream. Like I'm going to have my citadel. Like you have a community of people working together and everyone contributes in the way that they can. And when you contribute and it benefits everyone, like you just want to keep doing more of that, right? And then in the fiat world, it's the exact opposite, right? Like and social media, like you just want to, the outside needs to look good. And who cares about the inside? All that like on Instagram, like, oh, look, I look like this, or, I'm here on vacation, like, at this spot because this is where everyone goes and I'm trying to be an influencer, but really on the inside, like, do you feel good? Probably not, because you're looking for, a different type of validation outside of yourself from a larger community of people that you don't even know. Like you don't know these people on Instagram. If you are some type of influencer with hundreds of thousands of people following you, like, oh, all these people that like your post, it's just like emptiness, right? Oh, if little dopamine hits, right? Oh, it feels good to see that I got 2,000 likes on a post, but 5 minutes later, that hit's gone, right? It's not like a long sustaining, fulfillment that you feel. It's just fiat, right? High time preference. So, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it's not the inside out, it's the outside in. It's like the backwards approach.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the inside out. I know even for me, before I really found Bitcoin and like the community, I had gotten myself like in my darkest times to just be happy. It took my like darkest times to just be like, wow, I'm like, it's crazy that I'm so happy right now because like I really should be.
Yeah.
And then when I found Bitcoin and like the community, I was like, oh my God, like finally, like I'm not alone anymore, because it is that. It's like it's not like you said, it's like a collective. It's like the collective. And I was thinking about this graphic I just sort of made on AI for our Sovereign Minds conference on November 16th. And I'll just say a moment of that. And that's the whole idea, is like bringing people together in like that are putting in the work to help our humanity, our society, our city, our earth, our relationships, our people, our humans be healthier. And we're going to bring people together from the psychedelics, from the Bitcoin community, from the holistic health community, from the freedom community, and have these conversations, but also help people to really feel how they're not alone, feel and see how they're not alone. And I think when we feel less alone, like you said, we get really more interested in investing our time and energy, because it does feel good to be a part of something.
Yes. Yeah.
I knew we were going to have a great conversation, because I don't think we've ever not.
No, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
In Bitcoin.
I mean, hello. Can't wait to see you again. And thank you so much for being here, talking, sharing your experience, your wisdom. Any last thoughts for anyone watching?
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing out there, Bitcoiners. We'll win eventually, even if it's not us that gets to experience it. But eventually, I think we win. So just keep at it. Yeah,
we definitely win eventually.
And have more babies.
Have more babies.
Yeah.
Have more Bitcoin babies.
Have more babies.
I'll definitely reproduce for sure. Reproduce.
Yeah.
We
need numbers. We need numbers.
Yeah. We need a Bitcoin army. So everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let the fiat fear stop you.
Yeah. Ditch Valentine's Day and start reproducing.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll share your contact info too in the show notes. And, for anyone watching that wants to follow you and see your journey and also just laugh, which I think is also what we need, to just laugh. And we're already winning. Maybe we haven't won, but we're winning.
Yeah, we're on the path. We're on the winning path, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm on Twitter. I post occasionally, not as much as I used to, but I drop some funny memes, I think, every now and again.
Oh, you do. I was looking at one today where I'm like, oh yeah, just the Bitcoin mom mindset versus the fiat mom mindset is just we are here for it.
Yes. More to come.
Can't wait. Oh my God. Awesome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Bye, Bekka.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you'll know right away when we have a new episode with another great guest. And if this episode got you wanting to buy Bitcoin, reach out to me. I'm an agent with Bitcoin Well, and I have a link down below to book a time in my calendar. And simply just book a call with me and we can get you started buying Bitcoin. And don't worry, no pressure. Let's have a conversation and see how Bitcoin can improve your life. Ciao for now.